it's Gina with your note of the week. This week I'm going to teach you how to define margins at the category level. So first, what is a margin? Simply put, a margin is the difference between price and cost. And a benefit of setting margins at the category level is at a glance you can look at an item and tell whether or not it's meeting or exceeding your minimum and target margins. So here's how you set up a margin. You're going to start at the main menu, go to Setup, Inventory, Categories. Now just use your right-facing arrow and that'll bring up your first category. So mine is apparel. And what we care about is the line price 1 minimum. And so go ahead and enter a margin here. And then you must go down here to target margin and enter a target. So what I'm telling Counterpoint is for my apparel items, I at least want to have 55% margin. And if I get 70%, that's the target and that's good. So when I'm done defining this margin, I'll just use my right-facing arrow and continue defining margins until I'm done. And again, we only care about price 1 minimum margin and target margin. So now that I'm done, I'll just save my changes and show you the results. So let's go to Inventory and Items. And let me find an item. Let's go to my banana here. So at the single item record view, if you look at price 1, which is $9, you'll notice there's a green arrow. So that means that I've at least hit my target margin. And if I'm not sure, I can actually hover on this green arrow and you can see that this item is getting 50% margin. My minimum is 30 and my target is 40. And since I'm exceeding the target, I get a green arrow. Now, if you actually click in this block here, Counterpoint will show you a screen of what your pricing should be at your minimum and target margins. So if I wanted a minimum margin of 30%, then I would price this item at $6.43. If I want a 40% margin, I would price the item at $7.50. And I can even use the Use This Price button to change the price. But I'm going to go ahead and stick with my 50% margin because that's pretty good. Now, a real benefit of setting category margins that I like the best, is I'm going to save my changes here, is go to your table view. And in your table view, at a glance, you can see items that are exceeding the target. They get a green arrow. So again, if I hover here, because this item is exceeding the target of 40%, it gets a green arrow. Now, if I come down to this red arrow and hover, this item has a margin of 50%, but my minimum is 55. This item is not meeting the minimum, so it gets a red down arrow. The dash for this item, you can see my margin is 50, my minimum is 50. So because this item is meeting the minimum, it gets a dash. So the beauty of this is that you can possibly reanalyze how you're pricing items. So if I come to this long sleeve cotton pullover, go back to my table view, and I want to turn this red arrow green, I could come here to the price field and say, well, what would happen if I price this out at $60? So now you can see my red arrow turned into a dash, and when I hover, I can see that at $60, this item is meeting the minimum of 55, and that's why it gets a dash. So what if I make it $75? Well, let's make it 80. Still no green arrow. Let's try 90. Now, when I price this item at $90, and I hover here, now this item is getting 72% margin and exceeding the target of 70, and that's why it gets the green arrow. So that's how to assign margins to your categories and how to utilize it once they've been assigned. And feel free to change those values whenever you like. Thank you for watching this week's video. I would love to hear from you. If you would like to submit a question or a suggestion for a future video, email me at training@cksystem.com with Note of the Week on the subject line. To request a free training catalog or to schedule training, call me at 888-476-7911, extension 3. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next week.